Have you ever felt like life was testing you in ways no one else seemed to understand? Like every battle, every betrayal, every lonely night was shaping you for something bigger, but you couldn't quite see it yet. If you're hearing this message today, take a deep breath, because something powerful has just shifted. Chosen one, congratulations. The storm you thought would never end has finally passed. The pain that tried to break you, the obstacles that seemed endless, the moments when you questioned your strength, they were not the end of your story. They were the forge that refined you. You were never meant to stay in the darkness. Every challenge you faced was preparing you for this exact moment, the moment where the weight lifts, the chains break, and the path ahead finally becomes clear. What once felt like punishment was actually preparation. What once looked like rejection was divine protection, and what once seemed like defeat was secretly building the strongest version of you. So hear this clearly, it is done. That chapter of struggle is closing. The cycle that drained you is ending. You are stepping into a new season, one of clarity, strength, and purpose. Because sometimes the hardest journeys are given only to those strong enough to finish them, and you were always meant to win. The season of testing is finally over. There comes a moment in every chosen one's journey when the storms finally begin to quiet. For a long time, it may have felt like life was testing you without mercy. Just when one challenge ended, another appeared. Emotional battles, mental exhaustion, spiritual confusion, it seemed like the pressure never stopped. At times, you may have even wondered why your path felt so much harder than everyone else's. But what you were experiencing was not random hardship. It was a season of refinement. Just as fire strengthens steel, your struggles were shaping something powerful within you. Each obstacle forced you to grow in ways comfort never could. The betrayals taught you discernment. The loneliness taught you self-reliance. The uncertainty forced you to develop faith in yourself and in the unseen path ahead. Many people never go through such intense testing because they were never meant to carry the level of awareness, strength, and responsibility that comes with being chosen. Pressure is only applied where there is potential for greatness. And now, something is shifting. The heavy chapter that once defined your life is beginning to close. The constant battles that drained your energy are fading into the past. You are stepping out of survival mode and into a new phase. One where clarity replaces confusion and inner peace replaces chaos. This doesn't mean life will never challenge you again, but the kind of suffering that once shaped you has served its purpose. The lessons have been learned. The transformation has taken place. What once felt like endless testing was actually preparation for the person you have now become. And the most powerful part of all is this: you made it through. Not everyone survives their season of fire, but you did. And now, standing on the other side of it, you carry a strength, wisdom, and resilience that can never be taken away. The test is over. The next chapter begins now. You survived what was meant to break you. There are battles in life that leave visible scars, and then there are the silent battles, the ones no one else sees. The ones fought in the quiet moments of doubt, heartbreak, and exhaustion. Those were the battles you faced. You carried weight that most people would never understand. Betrayals from people you trusted. Setbacks that came just when you thought things were finally getting better. Long periods of loneliness where it felt like the world had moved on without you. And confusion, deep confusion about why your path seemed so much harder than everyone else's. At times, it may have felt like the universe was working against you. There were moments when the pressure became almost unbearable. Moments when giving up would have been the easier choice. Many people in the same situation would have stopped trying. They would have allowed the disappointment to harden their hearts or break their spirit. But something inside you refused to collapse. Even when you were tired, you kept going. Even when you were hurt, you kept believing. Even when you felt completely alone, you kept moving forward. That quiet resilience is not ordinary. It is the mark of someone who was built differently. The truth is, the very experiences that were meant to break you ended up revealing your true strength. Each betrayal sharpened your awareness. Each setback strengthened your patience. Each lonely season forced you to discover a deeper connection with yourself. What once felt like destruction was actually transformation. And now, when you look back, you may begin to realize something powerful. The storms did not defeat you, they revealed you. They revealed the courage you didn't know you had, the endurance you didn't know you possessed, the strength that only emerges in the face of real adversity. Your survival is not an accident. It is evidence. Evidence that you were never meant to be ordinary. The isolation had a purpose. There were moments in your journey when the silence felt almost unbearable. People you once laughed with slowly drifted away. Conversations became shorter. Invitations stopped coming. Connections that once felt strong suddenly faded without explanation. And in the middle of it all, you were left wondering a painful question. Why does it feel like everyone is disappearing from my life? Isolation can feel like rejection at first. It can make you question your worth, your path, and even your purpose. When the world grows quiet around you, it's easy to believe you've been abandoned. But what if that distance wasn't rejection at all? What if it was alignment? Sometimes, life removes certain people and distractions not to punish you, but to protect your growth. When you are constantly surrounded by noise, opinions, expectations, and influences, it becomes difficult to hear your own inner voice. You begin to live according to the energy around you instead of the truth within you. Isolation changes that. In solitude, something powerful begins to happen. Your mind becomes clearer. Your awareness deepens. You start to notice patterns in people, in life, and even within yourself. The time alone becomes a space where your real identity begins to take shape. The people who faded away were often connected to an older version of you, the version that was still discovering who they were. As you evolved, not everyone was meant to continue the journey with you, and that's not loss. That's transformation. The solitude you experienced gave you something most people never develop: self-understanding. It taught you how to stand confidently without needing constant approval. It showed you that your strength does not depend on how many people surround you. Now you can walk into any room knowing exactly who you are, because the isolation didn't weaken you, it refined you. Your pain was secretly training. Pain rarely feels meaningful when you are inside it. In the middle of the struggle, all you can see is the weight of the moment, the disappointment, the frustration, the emotional exhaustion. It feels like life is simply being unfair, like you are being pushed through challenges that have no purpose other than to make things harder. But what if those moments were never random? What if every difficult experience was actually a form of training? Think about it. The moments that tested you the most were also the moments that forced you to grow the most. When things were easy, you remained comfortable. But when life became difficult, something inside you had to rise to meet the challenge. Your awareness sharpened because you had to learn how to read people and situations more carefully. Your mind became stronger because you had to solve problems that once felt impossible. Your wisdom deepened because every setback forced you to reflect, adapt, and evolve. Pain has a strange way of teaching lessons that comfort never could. The betrayal taught you discernment. The failures taught you resilience. The confusion forced you to search for deeper understanding. What once felt like suffering was actually shaping your mindset, strengthening your character, and preparing you for responsibilities you couldn't have handled before. Just like an athlete trains under intense pressure before a major competition, you were being mentally and emotionally conditioned for the life ahead of you. The struggles were building endurance. The setbacks were developing patience. The challenges were strengthening your ability to remain steady, even when things around you became chaotic. And now, when you look back, you may begin to see the pattern. Nothing you experienced was wasted. Every painful lesson added another layer to your strength, another level to your awareness, another piece to your personal evolution. You weren't being punished. You were being prepared. Your perspective has completely changed. There comes a point in every deep journey of growth where something inside you quietly changes. It's not always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it happens slowly, through experiences that reshape the way you see the world. One day, you look around and realize something important. You no longer see life the way you once did. The things that used to impress you no longer hold the same power. The opinions that once influenced your decisions now feel distant and unimportant. You've started to notice patterns in people's behavior, the hidden motives behind certain actions, and the subtle energy that surrounds different situations. This shift didn't happen overnight. It came from experience. The betrayals taught you to read intentions more carefully. The disappointments forced you to question what truly matters. The moments of reflection helped you understand people and life on a deeper level. Where you once reacted emotionally, you now observe more calmly. Where you once trusted blindly, you now trust with awareness. Where you once searched for validation from others, you now rely on your own understanding. This new perspective is powerful because it gives you clarity. You can sense when something is genuine and when it is not. You can recognize opportunities that align with your path and avoid distractions that once would have pulled you off course. You move with greater intention, guided by the wisdom you've gained through experience. Many people go through life without ever developing this level of awareness. They repeat the same cycles, make the same mistakes, and never stop long enough to reflect on what their experiences are trying to teach them. But you did. Your experiences transformed the way you think, the way you observe, and the way you navigate the world. What once confused you now makes sense. And this deeper perspective will continue to guide you, helping you move forward with clarity, wisdom, and quiet confidence. The energy around you is shifting. For a long time, it may have felt like you were walking through a dense fog. No matter how hard you tried, things didn't seem to move forward. Opportunities slipped away, plans stalled, and confusion seemed to surround every decision you made. The atmosphere around your life felt heavy, almost like you were carrying an invisible weight that followed you everywhere. But lately, something feels different. It's subtle at first, almost difficult to explain, a quiet shift in the way things unfold. Situations that once felt blocked are beginning to open, conversations flow more naturally, ideas appear with unexpected clarity. The tension that once filled your mind and environment is slowly dissolving. This is the moment when the energy around you begins to change. Sometimes after a long period of struggle and transformation, life enters a new rhythm. The lessons you were meant to learn have already shaped you. The growth you needed has already taken place, and because of that, the environment around you begins to respond differently. Where there was once resistance, there is now movement. Where there was once confusion, there is now understanding. Where there was once emotional heaviness, there is now space for new possibilities to emerge. You may start noticing small signs of this shift. Unexpected opportunities appearing, new ideas that excite you, encounters with people who seem aligned with your mindset and direction. Even your thoughts may feel lighter, clearer, and more focused than before. These changes are not accidents. They are reflections of the inner transformation you have already gone through. When your mindset evolves, the energy you carry evolves with it. And when that happens, the world around you begins to respond in new ways. The weight that once surrounded your path is lifting, and in its place, a new flow is beginning, one filled with clarity, possibility, and forward movement. Your strength has been revealed. Strength is something many people believe they understand until life truly tests them. Before the storms came, you may have had an idea of who you were and what you were capable of. But real strength is not discovered during comfortable moments. It reveals itself when life pushes you to your absolute limits, and that is exactly what happened. The challenges you faced were not small ones. They demanded patience when you were exhausted, courage when you felt uncertain, and resilience when everything around you seemed to be falling apart. There were moments when the pressure felt overwhelming, when it seemed like the weight of everything might finally break you. But it didn't. Instead, something remarkable happened. Each time you were pushed to the edge, you found a way to endure. Each time life tried to knock you down, you stood back up again, even when you doubted yourself. a quiet determination inside you refused to surrender. That is when your true strength began to reveal itself. You started to realize that your spirit was far more powerful than the obstacles placed in front of you. The storms that once seemed impossible to survive became proof of your resilience. They showed you that your endurance runs deeper than fear, deeper than doubt, and deeper than any temporary setback. And now, that strength is something you carry with you permanently. It is no longer something you question, it is something you know. This strength will become the foundation for everything you build moving forward. It will guide the decisions you make, the risks you take, and the confidence with which you step into new opportunities. Because once someone discovers how strong they truly are, they no longer walk through life the same way. They move forward with quiet certainty, knowing that no matter what challenges appear next, they already possess the power to face them. Your story is becoming an inspiration. There was a time when your struggles felt deeply personal, like battles that only you could understand. The pain, the confusion, the silent endurance. It all felt like something you had to carry alone. In those moments, it was difficult to imagine that any of it could ever have meaning beyond your own survival. But something powerful happens when a person walks through hardship and refuses to give up. Their story begins to carry weight. Every challenge you faced, every betrayal, every setback, every lonely season has slowly been shaping a story that is far bigger than the pain you once felt. What seemed like meaningless struggle at the time is gradually transforming into something that holds purpose and influence. Because people are inspired by truth, they are inspired by real journeys, not perfect ones. When others see someone who endured storms and still found the strength to rise, it awakens something inside them. It reminds them that resilience is possible, that perseverance matters, that even in the darkest moments, there is still a path forward. Your journey carries that kind of power. The lessons you learn through hardship give you insight that cannot be taught in books or theories. Your experience becomes a light for those who are still walking through the kind of darkness you once faced. When they hear your story, they see proof that survival is possible, and sometimes that proof is exactly what someone needs to keep going. You may not realize it yet, but your strength, your endurance, and your refusal to give up are quietly becoming an example for others. Not because your journey was easy, but because you kept moving forward even when it wasn't. One day, someone will hear your story and find the courage to continue their own. And in that moment, every struggle you endured will carry a deeper meaning. You are entering a season of alignment. After a long period of struggle, confusion, and constant effort, there comes a moment when life begins to settle into a new rhythm. For a long time, it may have felt like you were pushing against invisible walls. No matter how hard you worked or how much energy you invested, things seemed to resist your progress. Opportunities felt distant, connections felt unstable, and the path ahead looked uncertain. That phase, however, was not permanent. Now you are entering something different, a season of alignment. Alignment is what happens when your growth finally catches up with your purpose. After everything you've learned, everything you've endured, and everything you've overcome, you are no longer the same person you were before. Your mindset is clearer, your boundaries are stronger, and your awareness of what truly matters has deepened. Because of that inner shift, the world around you begins to respond differently. The right opportunities begin to show up at the right time. Instead of constantly forcing doors open, you start noticing that certain doors open naturally. Situations that once felt complicated begin to feel simple and clear. Decisions become easier because you now understand yourself and your direction much better. The same is true with people. Instead of relationships built on confusion or imbalance, you begin attracting individuals who respect your energy and share similar values. Conversations become more meaningful. Connections feel genuine rather than forced. What once required constant struggle now begins to flow with greater ease. This doesn't mean life will never challenge you again, but the chaos that once surrounded your path is giving way to something more stable, more purposeful, and more aligned with who you have become. You are no longer wandering without direction. You are stepping into a phase where your efforts, your mindset, and your purpose begin moving in the same direction. And when that happens, progress no longer feels like a battle, it feels like momentum. The victory was always inevitable. When you look back at your journey now, something begins to stand out in a way it never did before. The moments that once felt random, the struggles that seemed unfair, the setbacks that left you confused and exhausted. At the time, each one felt like a detour, like life was pushing you further away from where you were meant to be. But with distance comes clarity, and now you can begin to see a pattern that wasn't visible before. Every experience, even the painful ones, was slowly guiding you toward this moment. The obstacles that once felt like barriers were actually redirections. The delays that frustrated you were protecting you from paths that were never meant for you. Even the failures you once questioned were quietly building the strength and wisdom you needed for what lies ahead. Nothing in your journey was wasted. Each step played a role in shaping who you have become. The disappointments taught you resilience. The losses deepened your understanding of what truly matters. The challenges forced you to develop courage and patience that you might never have discovered otherwise. And when you connect all of those experiences together, something powerful becomes clear. Your rise was never an accident. Even during the moments when you felt lost, the path was still unfolding beneath your feet. You were still moving forward, still evolving, still becoming the person you were meant to be. What felt like chaos at the time was actually a process of transformation. That is why your victory was never really uncertain. It may have taken time. It may have required endurance beyond what you thought you were capable of. But the direction of your journey was always leading upward. The storms were never meant to define your story. They were simply part of the path that led you to your rise. And now, standing where you are today, you can see the truth that was hidden all along. You were always meant to make it. As you reach the end of this message, take a moment to reflect on everything you've been through, the battles that once felt endless, the lessons that came through pain, the quiet moments when you had to find strength within yourself because no one else truly understood your journey. Through it all, you kept going. There were times when you felt uncertain, times when the road ahead looked dark and confusing, yet somehow, step by step, you continued moving forward. That persistence, that quiet determination inside you, is what brought you to this moment. And now something important is happening. The chapter of constant struggle is closing, and a new season is unfolding before you. A season where the wisdom you gained begins to guide your path. A season where the strength you built during the hardest times becomes the foundation for the life you are now stepping into. Everything you endured has changed you, but in the most powerful way. You are no longer the same person who first entered the storm. You are stronger, wiser, and far more aware of your own resilience. So move forward with confidence. Trust the growth that has taken place within you. Trust the path that is beginning to open ahead of you. And remember that every challenge you overcame has already proven something powerful. You are capable of far more than you once believed. Your journey is not ending here. In many ways, it is only just beginning, and the next chapter of your life will be written with the strength, clarity, and purpose you fought so hard to discover.